Today on Legally Us, Ariana Madix sues Tom Sandoval over their home, and Shah threatens to sue Heather Gay. Plus, Todd and Julie Chrisley score a legal win, while Darnell super chef Ferguson has been arrested. We've got that plus so much more in today's Legally Us. Hey everyone, and welcome to Legally Us. I'm Christina Garibaldi. That's, of course, Nima Rahmani, President and CEO of West Coast Trial Lawyers. Hi, Nima. How are you?
Doing great, Christina. How about you?
I am doing good. We got some big Vanderpump news to kick us off this week. So Ariana has taken legal action in hopes of selling her and Tom Sandoval's joint house in Los Angeles following their split. She claimed in court documents that there is discord between her and Tom, who are co-owners of the property. She said that tension, she alleged, is continuing to have a negative effect on the ownership of the house and affects her enjoyment of interest in the property. So as a result, she is asking a judge to have the property partitioned by sale, which would instruct Tom to sell and split the earnings. The filing states that she wants an equitable allocation of the proceeds of the sale, including payment of debt secured by same and the cost of partition. So what exactly does this mean? Does she just want him to basically just agree to sell this home?
Well, he's not agreeing, and that's the issue.
Right.
And frankly, I'm surprised Ariana and Tom have been living together for so long after the cheating scandal. So when two people own a property, you can divide it a couple of ways. You can divide it in half, like you used to do with your sibling, where you kind of draw that line, in the middle of the room. But obviously, that's not going to work. You can't split a house in half. It's not like Ariana can sell her half of the house to someone else who's going to live with Tom. So what she's asking the judge to do is sell the house entirely and split the profits 50-50. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Tom doesn't have much of a legal basis to object to the sale. We talked about this a little bit before with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt and their chateau. But, usually when there's co-owners, one owner does have a right to sell his or her share. And if the property can't be split up, then it has to be sold outright and the profits distributed.
Right. Did it seem like maybe in this case, he wanted her to kind of buy him out or vice versa? It had to have been pretty ugly for it to get to this point, I would imagine.
Oh, you're right. And usually, Christina, when there's partners, one will buy the other out as opposed to selling the property outright. But I can imagine that those two aren't really getting along right now. And there's probably not that type of negotiation going on. If there was some sort of right of first refusal or an option or a buy-sell agreement that was entered into before Sandoval, then that would be binding. But it doesn't seem like that was the case, because then that option would have been exercised if Tom wanted to stay in the house.
Is that something that he can do now, is to go back to the court and be like, I want to either buy her out or I want to give her the option of doing so? Or does she just want to get rid of this property altogether?
Well, the judge is going to side with Ariana, and the judge is going to order the sale of the property. Now, certainly Tom can buy it. It doesn't have to be sold to a third party, but he's going to have to be the highest bidder.
Got it. All right. Well, moving on over to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So Shah is threatening to sue Heather Gay, Andy Cohen, and Bravo for defamation and slander if she is directly accused of giving her former co-star and friend a black eye during the Salt Lake City reunion. A rep for the Bravo Liberty told Page Six that Jen, who is currently in prison for fraud, caught wind of the reunion preview and is most likely going to seek legal action based on the wording used. They said if in the final cut of the three-part reunion, Heather makes any direct reference to Jen giving her the black eye, legal action will be taken by the Shah family against Andy Cohen, NBC Universal, Bravo, Shed Media, and Heather for slander and defamation. We know that that's going to happen. She is going to say that that Jen gave her the black eye, but does Jen have any leg to stand on in this case?
Christina, Jen Shah says all sorts of things. Let's not forget she was proclaiming her innocence right up until the eve of trial. Then she pled guilty. So, when it comes to defamation, and we know that, NBC Universal, which owns Bravo, and the production companies, they have their lawyers, and this is something that they always watch out for. So to the extent that it is false, then there may be a claim for defamation. Now, obviously, we know in defamation cases that truth is an absolute defense. So If it's true, it's not defamatory. And if you're just repeating allegations but not saying they're true, again, that's usually not defamatory. We talk about cases here all the time where, it's a he said, she said type situation. So I don't think Jen Shah is a particularly good case unless we're talking about something that's completely untrue.
Right. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be listening to somebody that's spending years behind bars for fraud. So I don't think that she's, can't really trust her word. Todd and Julie Chrisley, they have scored a legal victory amid their ongoing prison sentences for their involvement in multi-million-dollar bank fraud and tax evasion scheme. So a lawyer for the couple announced that they are receiving a $1 million settlement from the state of Georgia to resolve their 2019 federal lawsuit against Joshua Waits, the former director of special investigations of the state departments of revenue. So after being cleared of their state evasion tax charge in Georgia, they took legal action against Waits in October of 2019 for specifically targeting the famous family in their state tax evasion charge. So despite being cleared by the state of tax evasion case, the Chrisleys were indicted by a federal grand jury in August of 2019 for 12 counts of bank and wire fraud. Like I said, tax evasion and conspiracy, all of which they have denied. So does this have any relation to the time that they are spending behind bars? Will this help them at all, or is this two totally separate things?
Two totally separate cases, Christina. You have a state case and a federal case in terms of the prosecution. Now, it's a little bit tricky because there was a federal lawsuit, but it related to the state prosecution. So in that case, the allegations were that there was a state official that acted improperly, that this official disclosed tax returns, which are private. There's very specific laws that govern returns both at the state and federal level. So there's been a lot of chatter on social media saying, well, this means that their appeal is going to be granted and they're going to be released, but not so fast. Two completely separate issues. Now, there's always the possibility that an appellate court, and it would be the 11th Circuit, would consider this. But for the Chrisleys to actually be released, one of two things really has to happen. There has to be some unlawful evidence that was admitted in their federal prosecution. And it doesn't seem that that's the case. The other possibility, and it's a very high threshold to meet, is that the government's conduct was so outrageous that the court should dismiss the case. Again, I don't think the Chrisleys are going to get there. You're talking about a state official, and their prosecution was by federal prosecutors and agents, so they're probably going to be stuck behind bars.
Yeah, it seems like it. Definitely seems like it. All right. Well, this is moving on to a scary situation. Darnell super chef Ferguson, who has been arrested for burglary, strangulation, and terroristic threatening. This was confirmed by Page Six, and the Food Network star is also facing misdemeanor charges of assault, menacing, criminal mischief, and theft receipt of a stolen credit or debit card. Ooh, he's in trouble. He was taken into custody in Louisville, Kentucky. And so the details surrounding the arrest are unclear at this time since it's just developing, but records obtained by Page Six show a family court granted an emergency protection request against him on January 2nd. He shares 8 kids with his wife, and he has been a staple on the Food Network for years. So it's definitely a recognizable face and name, but like I said, it seems like this is a laundry list of things that he is going to be facing.
Yeah, Christina, there's a lot going on here, and this is really a breaking story. I think more information is going to come out soon, but I mean, these charges are serious. When you're talking about burglary, you're talking about terrorist threats. You basically, the allegations are he broke into a dwelling, usually someone's home, and threaten them. And, terrorist threats usually are threatened to kill them or cause serious bodily injury. And there's some theft-related offenses thrown in as well. So I don't know if the allegations are that he stole something. So, trying to piece the puzzle together here, I think that protective order says a lot. You're talking about family law. So that's someone that he has a relationship with. Could be his wife, could be someone else, but it's not a stranger like me and you. Family courts don't necessarily get involved in that. Could potentially be one of his kids. Again, pure speculation right now. But the fact that the family court granted that restraining order leads me to believe that this is related to someone in his family or his inner circle.
Right. And if you, go against the restraining order, if you don't, obey by those rules, there's some serious consequences for that one as well. He's probably looking at some jail time, I would imagine.
Probably, violating the restraining order is its own crime, especially if it's a domestic violence case or anything like that. That can result in some pretty serious penalties. So I'm sure we're going to find out more soon, but this is a breaking story that I'm sure we're going to be covering weekly on Legally Yes.
Definitely. And I feel like we would be remiss to not talk about that viral video that was going around of a defendant attacking a judge, this was such a scary video to witness. But the judge who was attacked by a defendant in Las Vegas actually sentenced the man again on Monday to 19 to 48 months in prison on a previous battery charge, emphasizing that his actions last week did not affect her sentencing decision. So the man drew national attention, like we said, when a courtroom video showed him literally leaping over the bench onto the judge and causing the flags behind the bench to fall. She injured herself, went to the hospital. She was released and was okay. But this was a scary scene.
Oh, scary. And everyone's seen this. And it's really, I have to say, a failure of, law enforcement and sheriffs that are supposed to protect the judge and the integrity of the proceedings. So that was bad. But, now he's dealing with two cases. There's the underlying case that he was sentenced on, like you said, Christina. And, it's interesting. The judge said, well, I'd already made a decision. Here are my notes. Here are my records. She actually put them into evidence as an exhibit. But now he's facing a whole new series of charges, including attempted murder with an entirely new judge, because the old judge is a victim and the witness in the case. She can't be a judge in the new case. So he was arraigned on those charges. A public defender was appointed. So now he's dealing with significantly more time for attacking a judge.
Right. I mean, like I said, he was sentenced to 19 to 48 months. Now he's looking, maybe 5 years? I would imagine, maybe even more.
I wouldn't
on top
be surprised.
Of what he has.
Yeah, I mean, here's someone that at least reportedly has a very significant rap sheet and criminal history. And obviously, look, I mean, you saw the light switch just flip. Is someone that's just prone to violence. Now, they've interviewed his sister. She says that he's had some mental health issues, which seem pretty clear. Apparently, he was exposed to drugs as a young child. So there's a lot going on here. But, when you're a judge and you're deciding what an appropriate sentence is, one of the things you consider is propensity for violence and danger to others. And here's someone, for whatever reason, seems to be unable to conform his behavior and remain peaceful.
Yeah, in a load of trouble. All right. Well, Nima, thank you so much for breaking it all down. As always, definitely a wide range of stories we had this week.
Yes. And looking forward to seeing you next week, Christina.
Definitely. Thank you. For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.